Hoi hoi! My name is Kitsune von the Hut, and today I want to react to a video which I just have discovered, and I really like this video. The reason why I want to react to this is because I want to talk about it from a developer, game developing standpoint, because I am working on my own RPG system right now. The video that I want to talk about is this one. It's called Looking Critical at Fallout 4's Perks from Mobius Gaming. Watch his video, give him a like, because he did okay, I'm already having a stroke, because the visuals that he made for this video are really amazing. I would definitely not be able to do something like that. So this video is about Fallout 4's perk system. I have a lot to say about this system. I like Fallout 4 was the first Fallout game that I've played, and in my opinion it's also the worst one. Let's ignore Fallout 76, because Fallout 76 is not a Fallout game in my opinion, or I like to ignore this because it is not what Fallout is supposed to be. But to be fair, Fallout 4 is also not what Fallout is supposed to be, but let's just listen a bit to his intro and what he has to say.
Fallout 4 has 70 plus perks in the base game. There are many videos that talk about which ones the player should unlock first, which ones to avoid, and which to work towards. In all of these videos, they talk about how the perks are, rather than what they could or should be. Well, I want to have that conversation though. I want to look at all the perks of Fallout 4 and analyze if they are actually good perks in the context of a well-made game. So, let's do that. Of course, let's have some fun with it and do the YouTube classic, a tier list.
A tier list.
When we ask about what makes a good perk, for me, I imagine that every perk you unlock will help accomplish a handful of things. First,
I mean, what is a good perk to me? A perk is something that can enhance your gameplay, but it should not determine your gameplay, or it should not be the main thing that determines your gameplay, right? For example, if you want to play a certain style, or if you want to play a certain play style, but you are required a specific perk to play this playstyle, then it's, in my opinion, a bad perk, because you should be able to be successful, or you should be able to do this playstyle without having this perk. As an example, here that in Fallout 4 it's the grenade perk, or it's like, what was it? I don't know what it's called, but essentially it's the perk that allows you to put a grenade in your opponent so that it explodes, and in Skyrim you have something similar with poisons, right? The fact that you need a perk to have this playstyle in the first place makes it, in my opinion, a bad perk. Because you should be able to do this. You should not have to unlock a perk just to be able to do this, right? So in that case, that would be a bad perk. Besides that, perks should only enhance gameplays and not determine them. Okay.
a perk should help the player flesh out who their character is. Unlocking a perk should be personal to the player, and at the end of the game, the player should look at their character and the perks that they have unlocked and see a congruence within them. If you are playing a cowboy, you should be unlocking perks that allow you to draw your weapon quicker. A tech genius should be able to unlock perks that allow them to hack robots. A spy should have perks that make them silent as they run. That's what
I mean, the thing about here, this, not this one.
A tech genius should be able to unlock perks that allow them to hack robots.
in my opinion, you should have the option to hack robots without having to acquire a perk. But having perks that make it easier is fine. But like, I would disagree with this point already. Okay, so the thing is, in Fallout, you need perks. You need to unlock the perks to hack specific things. And like, the worst part about this, you can't unlock them just from the get-go. You actually have to find their in-game location before you can unlock them. And if we are looking from at Fallout 4 from a D&D perspective, or like from a tabletop RPG perspective, like, the thing is, if you are playing solo and you want to play a hacker, you already need the meta knowledge of where you can find those perks. Plus, you have to go out of your way and go there to get them. Which, in a single-player scenario, is not that bad. But in a multiplayer scenario, it's just like, you probably have to, you either have to do it on your own, so you have to leave the group, or you have to drag your multiplayer comrades with you into doing dungeons that they might not want to do. So that is, he's probably not going to talk about these perks. I think he's only talking about the perks that you can gain from level up. But yeah, that would already be a example for me as a very bad perk, or like a very bad system in this very bad perk system in this game.
A spy should have perks that make them silent as they run. That's what I mean by congruence. Secondly, a perk should change the way a player plays the game. Not in a small way either.
Okay, that's like,
should make the game.
That's already the second point where I disagree with him. Like, yeah, I mean, I've already explained this, right? I don't think it's a good thing if you want to perceive a certain playstyle that you can only perform this playstyle with a perk. I just think that's bad game design, or like, that's not bad game design, but it's just okay, I want to play a specific character. I can't play this character until I gain a second until I gain the specific perk, which is just like a bad feeling for the player.
Gameplay dramatically different. The gameplay should mold around the player's choices, not the other way around. So, what happens when you take these ideas?
I mean, what he said wasn't wrong, but like, I think he just looks at this different, like, he doesn't. Wait, let me change the way. So it should change the way the game plays. So what did he said?
Secondly, a perk should change the way a player plays the game. Not in a small way either. Each perk should make the gameplay dramatically different. The gameplay should mold around the player's choices, not the other way around. So, what happens when you take these?
Okay, I think I've misunderstood him here. I think he's not saying that you should only be able to do this with a certain perk or something like this. Okay, I'm fine. Oh, I didn't want to do it full screen.
And apply them to Fallout 4. Well, if we look at the perks of Fallout 4 through this lens, pretty much every perk in the game is a C tier at best.
That's a good way to say it. Whenever I play Fallout 4, I just don't feel like getting any of those perks. Like, another thing that Fallout 4 does wrong is that you are required to use perk points to get stats. But that's another story, right? But like, what I usually do is I just max out my stats, because none of the perks in this game interests me. They're all boring. They're all meaningless. You do have some that you need to take, which are the ones that increase your damage. But that's it. There's like nothing really interesting.
We have to adjust our scale a bit. I'm going to concede that I don't think that there are any good perks in Fallout 4, but there are some really good ideas. With a little bit of work on what Fallout 4 already has, we can make some good perks. This will reflect in the tiers that we end up putting them in. But there is one last thing we need to talk about before we talk about the tiers of our tier list. The last thing we need to talk about are the 3 basic categories of perks that can be found within Fallout 4. That being 1.
So what he's doing here right now is what I really like, because he essentially pinpoints the reason why Fallout 4 is not a Fallout game anymore. To me, Fallout is like Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. It is arguably whether I would consider Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas as Fallout games, because like Fallout originally was like a tactical RPG. But in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, it became an action RPG. But then Fallout 4 completely removed. Fallout 4 almost removed everything what Fallout originally was about. And Fallout 4, it's like I would say Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas are still Fallout games. But Fallout 4 is like the first Fallout game that's not a Fallout game anymore. If that makes sense.
Perks that should have just been skills.
Right, because I mean, I think he explains it, so I don't need to explain that.
Perks that just unlock crafting. And 3. Perks that are actually perks.
Yeah.
In Fallout 4, Bethesda removed skills, replacing them with a handful of perks that basically do the same thing in a much clunkier way. These are perks that are just simple damage increases for specific kinds of weapons, such as the perk Iron.
Right, so in old Fallout games, like in essentially every Fallout game until Fallout 4, you would gain talent points on a level up or skill points on a level up. I think they're called skill points. And then you would invest those skill points into your skills. And your skills would determine how good you are at something, right? So in this example, Iron Fists, if you want to increase more damage with unarmed attacks, you would just invest talent or skill points into your unarmed skill. And what they have done is they have removed that with a more straightforward perk system. So like instead of every level up you can invest into like your unarmed skill, here you have to wait like 10 levels, or like in this case it's 9. It's not actually always 9. No, so like essentially you invest this, you can invest on level 1, you deal 20% more damage, right? But then you have to wait 9 other levels before you can get the next upgrade. And this just makes the game feel slow, or it makes it feel bad, because it doesn't really feel like level ups just don't really feel worth it, because if you have something specific in mind, you can't just invest all your levels into it. And that's like definitely, that's like a big issue for why Fallout 4 just isn't a Fallout game anymore.
Fist replacing the unarmed skill, or Big Leagues replacing the melee skill. Or they are perks that just give a flat buff to whatever you're doing, such as Pickpocketer, replacing the pickpocketing skill of Skyrim, or Locksmith, replacing the lockpick skill.
I think old Fallout didn't have a pickpocket skill, but I think pickpocket and sneak was just the same skill. I'm not sure about this. I haven't played Fallout in a long time.
Fallout 4 is crammed full of these kinds of perks, and honestly, they should all have been cut and replaced with such a solid skill system.
Yeah, they should all have been skills.
For the sake of this video, we will put these in their own tier. The Just a Skill tier, when they come up. Another major issue with the Fallout 4 perk systems are all the perks that simply unlock the ability to customize your gear.
I mean, like the worst part here is crafting, because crafting is already gated behind materials. But like you could have designed a crafting system in a way that you need certain key materials to get certain upgrades, and these materials only appear as your level increases. Right, so like it's already so that you don't care about having to unlock it and then you can craft it. And you just can craft it once you get the materials, right? But the way they have done it in Fallout 4 means that you just that you have to invest an extra point, so you have to invest 1 level into it just so that you can craft things. And then the issue is whether what you can craft doesn't matter that much, or it doesn't matter in the first place, because you can just buy the upgrades anyway. So why is it a skill? There's no reason for why it has to be a perk. It being a perk makes it just unviable to use.
There are much better ways to lock and unlock gear customization to keep the game well paced, other than by simply locking them behind a perk. Most people are going to want to modify and customize their gear in the first place, so most people will be getting these perks. Honestly, these perks shine a light on a much greater issue within Fallout 4, but for the sake of this video, we will just put these perks in the cut tier.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Some examples of these perks would be the Armorer perk or the Gun Nut perk. In the future, I do intend to adjust these perks specifically in a video about the poor balance of Fallout 4, so keep an eye out for that. Because of the first two categories, the third suffers greatly by being reduced in scope and power, requiring multiple levels and perk points for any of them to actually be worthwhile. Personally, I think that this is due to the skills being replaced by perks, having to increase the granularity of perks to try and find a middle ground between skills and the perks of better RPGs. Because of this, the third category will be treated as if it's the max level of the perk with all unlocks. To me, this is how the perks would have been written if there was still a skill system in the game, and of course, a level cap.
I don't think so. I would say having multiple levels of a perk, and considering that the perk does different things depending on what point you are in the game, it makes sense. Like for example, if we just think about the hacking perk, right? Like, I mean, I disagree with the idea of having a hacking behind perks, but let's say you have a hacking perk and you can upgrade this perk 5 times, right? And each time you upgrade the perk, you unlock a new robot that you can hack. It does make sense to view this at the time when you can get this perk, because you're not going to encounter the strongest robot at the beginning, and like as a game developer, you don't want your players to be able to hack a robot before they had to deal with it normally. Right, so for example, what are they called again? I forgot what those robots are called, like those really big guys who just destroy everything. I'm really bad with names. Wait a second. Okay, I don't know. Okay, but let's take an assault one as an example. Right, like the game developer wants you to have to fight a assaultron before you gain the ability to hack an assaultron. So in that case, it makes sense to have like a perk that, like the level 1 perk, allows you to hack just the basic protect ones, right? And then level gated, let's say for example in assault 1, the first assault 1 appears at level 10, and then having the perk gated in a way so that you can only get it after level 10, after you've already encountered an assault 1, before you are allowed to hack assault ones. I think that makes sense. So you do have to look at the perks at the individual levels at the perks. But I think the issue here in Fallout is that most perks just don't really do anything until they are maxed out. So if that's the case, then it makes sense if he looks at it that way.
For the different tiers in our list, let's go from bottom up. At the bottom we have the cut tier. Above that is just a skill tier. These are the ones we already talked about. Above those we have F tier, reserved for perks that have no redeeming qualities, that are the worst of the worst. Above that, C tier, for perks that with a lot of work could be a great perk. Then B tier, for perks that with some work would be a good perk. A tier will be for perks that require very little work to make a good perk. And finally, S tier, saved for those perks that when fully unlocked, actually are good perks. Just in case Fallout 4 actually has any of those. A lot of preamble in this one, isn't there? I see why I've taken so long to make this. Fallout 5 will be out before I even get through half the things I want to talk about.
I've heard him saying Fallout 5 and I genuinely thought that Fallout 5 was already out. Like, I have heard nothing about anything relating to Fallout 5, and I genuinely thought, they already announced Fallout 5 and they already announced like a release for Fallout 5
with Fallout 4.
He got me with that.
Alrighty, let's get started. If you would like to follow along with me as we go through these, I'm using the perk list found at
Fallout Wiki,
the independent Fallout wiki. So let's get going with the strength perks.
Strength. Iron Fist, just a skill.
Iron Fist. Iron Fist is basically the replacement for the unarmed skill. This is an easy, just a skill tier.
I'm curious, it actually adds something to it, right? Because at level 18 you have a chance to cripple, and at level 46 you can paralyze. I mean, he did mention that this is something that you could have done to the skill system, right? And it's something that Oblivion did, where you unlock perks once you have a certain level unlocked. So in my RPG system, the way I'm doing it is, since it's like based on Might and Magic 6, you essentially increase your level, and then once you're on a certain level, you can upgrade the rank, and if you upgrade the rank, you unlock more. You unlock like more abilities. That is roughly how it works like here, but you unlock like more abilities for everything in the skill tree, right? And I think that's a fair point. But I mean, I guess it is a little bit obsolete, like having to, like in my case, like having in the case of Might and Magic, having to spend extra money. I mean, okay, so the point in Might and Magic is that you actually have to travel the world and you have to find the trainers, right? And then you visit the trainers and then you can upgrade it, right? That's the point. And like the money cost isn't that relevant. The actual gating is that that you need to find the trainers, right? But the thing is, you don't, like as a game developer, you don't want your player to be able to do everything. You do want to limit on what they can do and what not. And the reason why you want to do it is so that the player has to think about their build and has to invest more time into thinking about their build, right? So that they just get more familiar with their build and more familiar with what they do. So, I mean, that's like another point. I think in the original Fallout games, there isn't a mechanic like this, right? You don't unlock extra perks for having it on a certain level. So I think this is actually like a good thing about it, right? Like you could cut like all the damage upgrades from this card and only have the additional effects, and I think this would make it much better. It would make it is more reasonable. And it would make sense, especially if you then gate like the skill points, or like gate these 3 upgrades behind skill points, because then your player has to make a choice. Okay, do I really want to go for a unarmed build, or am I just using unarmed for fun, right? So it forces the player into a choice. but in the context of Fallout 4, the choice doesn't matter because you have infinite levels anyway. And I mean, you do have to choose it if you want to use unarmed because it increases your unarmed damage, and without it, you just can't progress the game, right?
Big Leagues.
I mean, similar with
Big Leagues is another easy, just a skill tier, replacing the melee skill of Fallout New Vegas. Armorer. Armorer is the first example of a perk that simply unlocks player customization straight to the cut tier.
Yep.
Blacksmith.
Same.
Our next example of a perk that simply unlocks player customization, another cut tier perk. Man, Strength really got the raw end of this, didn't it? Heavy Gunner. A simple, linear damage increase perk that replaced the Heavy Guns skill. A skill.
Yeah, okay, it really doesn't do anything else. Alright, so this is just like, this is the most war version of a skill.
That was in Fallout 3, but got condensed into the Guns skill in Fallout New Vegas. Another, just a skill tier. Strong Back. The Strong Back perk is the first example of a perk that is on the border of being a good idea, but just isn't quite there. When fully unlocked, the player will get plus 50 carry weight, the ability to fast travel while in.
The issue with Strong Back is you already gain extra carry weight from having a high strength, and you're essentially rewarding the player for having a high strength by giving them the option to have even more carry weight, which is just weird. Skyrim did it much better. I mean, okay, Skyrim might not be a good example, but in Skyrim, the Strong Back skill is not locked. I mean, to be fair, in Skyrim you don't have stats, right? Which is another sin. But in Skyrim you don't have Strong Backs behind your strength locked, right? Instead you have it part of your thievery, right? And I don't know which one the thievery was. Can I see it? Which set of thieveries that was? I think it's agility, right? So if the carry weight skill would be part of agility, that would make actually not more sense, but from a gameplay perspective, it would be better. Right, because if you already have like a lot of strength, you don't really care about the extra carry weight. But if you don't want to invest into strength, having a skill that gives you carry weight is actually more rewarding to you, right? It's more interesting to you. So if this was a agility perk, and for example it would be called Deep Pockets or something like this, then it would be fine. Also, what else does it do is at level 20, it actually doesn't give you, it doesn't really give you that much carry weight. It only gives you carry weight for the first 2 ranks, and then it does something completely different. When over in combat, you can use action points to run. When over in combat, you can fast travel survival mode, but over in combat, you will not become injured. When over in combat, running costs 50% less action points. I don't know. Running... Okay, so there's like a difference between running and sprinting, right? I forgot about that. Okay, that's actually fine. I don't know. I feel like these are like the last 3 perks are just things that shouldn't be in the game to begin with. This is something that bothered me about Skyrim. In Oblivion, if you are over in combat, you just cannot move at all, right? This is especially relevant because there's like a mage quest where you have to get a ring out of a well, but the ring has like an enchantment on it that makes it weigh much more. So if you take the ring with me, with you, then you can't move anymore, so you're stuck in the well and you're going to drown. Right, and that's right. In that way, the quest incentivizes you to use a spell that increases your carry rate, and I think that's really well designed. But in Skyrim, you can still move when you are over encumbered, which kinda incentivizes the player to just deal with the slow walk instead of sorting your inventory, which is just a bad design. So I would just not allow the player to be able to move if they are over encumbered. That's just straight it. Anything else will result in a worse gameplay experience for the player, because the players are stubborn, they do whatever they want, and if they can still move if they're over encumbered, they will do it even if it takes them minutes to get to the next city to sell everything. Anyway, let's continue.
And being able to run longer. The only issue I actually have with this one is that it just feels like how the strength special attribute should already...
How am I already at 30 minutes? What the fuck? I'm only 7 minutes in this video and I'm already at 30 minutes.
work. To me, a 10 in strength should be what gives you this, not a separate perk.
I mean, strength already gives you that, right? Yeah, you could argue, okay, once you have 10 strength, you can get the rest of the perks, but it doesn't matter. It shouldn't.
This one
It just shouldn't exist in the first place.
I do think there is something redeemable about this one, just not by much.
I mean, I would say if this would not be a strength perk and instead it would be an agility perk, and it would be like obviously not strength related but like deep pockets or something like this, I would generally give this a B tier. But the thing is, it would never be higher than a B tier, because you would still waste a skill point into it. And since it's only utility, it's neither offensive, it's not offensibility, it's not defensibility. And essentially every stat that is not offense or defensive is just useless because it doesn't increase your power. And in a level in a game where, like Fallout or Skyrim, where enemies will level with you, putting a point into this skill will just make you weaker, right? So that's the issue here. But I do think that it would become like one tier higher if it were in agility.
Maybe a high F tier. Steady aim.
Yeah, that is actually a good point. I would actually give this an F tier because it's in strength, and outside of strength, I would give it a C tier.
Steady aim gives you improved hip fire accuracy and damage with guns. Again, this just feels like what strength should be doing, doesn't it? Minus the random damage increase, I do think that as your character's strength increases, the weapon should be steadier. I feel like I'm going crazy when I say
I don't think that makes sense. I'm not a gun expert, but I'm pretty sure that the issue is if you fire, you have recoil, right? And it doesn't matter how strong you are, you're always affected by recoil. So I don't know. I would just cut this here. It's just not great. It doesn't do anything. I don't think it makes sense. I would just remove this.
say these things.
Yeah, F. Definitely
Basher, a simple damage increase perk that... Wait a minute. Is this just the melee skill again? Did they really split the melee skill into 2 perks?
I don't think so, because I don't think that in old Fallout games you could actually perform melee attacks with weapons. I don't think that was the case. Would I remove this one? I mean, yeah, to be fair, this would just be the basic melee skill. It would just be the most basic melee skill, so you can put it in. Should have been a skill.
Well, obviously, this
melee weapon.
Should have been a skill too.
Yeah, should have been a skill. Rooted.
Rooted
is like the first actually interesting perk in it. It gives you increased damage resistance when you're standing still, and it also gives you melee and unarmed attack 25% more damage. I mean, this is like a skill where I would say, okay, here it actually makes sense if it increases your, or if it decreases your recoil, right? Because the idea of it is that you're standing like a tree, right? So I feel like what this should do, it should also decrease your recoil. While standing still, you may automatically disarm enemies that use melee weapons against you. That's also a really interesting one. I don't think it's a bad one. I would give it a B. I just wish it would affect. I just wish it would affect your weapons, maybe like your heavy weapons, because I can feel like if you're using a machine gun, not a machine gun, a minigun, and you're rooted, like being rooted should give you a buff for using machine guns or something like this. Yeah, so maybe it reduces your recoil or something like this. How would I rank it? I don't know. It only gives... I would give it a C, because it only is for melee. I mean, it also gives you defense, but like I think damage resistance doesn't really matter that much. So it only increases your melee damage. I would give it a C.
It's actually a pretty cool perk. You gain plus 50 damage resistance and do 50% more damage.
I mean, the concept of it is great. It's just, it feels underwhelming because it doesn't really do much.
With both melee and unarmed, as well as getting a chance to disarm your enemies that use melee weapons against you. The catch is that you have to be standing still to gain these buffs. The idea of this one is really great. I actually think this is a great idea and adds a ton of flavor to your character. Let's say B tier.
B tier. Yeah, I was thinking of B tier as well. But I do think it doesn't do enough for it to be a B tier.
Pain Train.
Pain Train.
Another fun idea.
I really love the concept of Pain Train. I think this is such a cool perk, well, like cool ability. Yeah, there isn't really much to say about it. I think it's probably a little bad executed or badly executed. Spinning in enemies while wearing power armor will hurt them and staggers them. But robots are immune to the stagger. Okay, sprinting into enemies while wearing power now causes severe damage and a more powerful stagger. Sprinting into enemies now causes massive damage and knocks them down. Impacting enemies inflicts even more damage. I mean, I don't like. This is a perk that I would like to introduce into my game, but I just don't know how. I feel like it's a difficult to balance skill.
Idea for a perk, Pain Train will make it so that in power armor you can tackle your enemies and knock them to the ground. It's really fun to use and you can do massive amounts of damage with it. Although I do like the idea, this perk is useless if you do not use power armor. It's also a little gimmicky, and I can't see someone using it in...
I think the worst part about this perk in the context of Fallout 4 is that it's a strength perk. And it's the only strength perk that actively does anything for power armor. So if you want to play a power armor build, you're probably not going to use strength because it's just like everything else. I mean, okay, sure, if you use power armor, you might also use heavy weapons, which is why you would want to go strength. But that's like the two only things that matters. Maybe rooted is also good for power armor, but if you want to go power armor, you would probably go other perks first. I think, was it intelligence that has some stuff towards power armor? Yeah, I think intelligence has. I think it's this one that increases the energy capacity of your miniature fusion reactors or whatever they're called. What are they called? Fusion batteries? Fusion Cores, that's the name. And then also you want to invest into offensive first before you invest into defensive, right? Because your survivability increases naturally if you kill your enemies faster. So investing into into damage first before you're investing into defense makes more sense. I mean, it isn't really that great for a perk to begin with. Like, needing 10 strength just doesn't make this worth it. I would give it an F. The way it's implemented, I would give it an F. But I can understand the C.
In a serious situation. More of a fuck around perk. Fun idea, but not a strong perk. Putting it in C tier.
Yeah. Perception.
Alright, this is an interlude.
An interlude.
So, I wanted to talk a bit about why I'm actually making this video. So, for a long time, I've actually been working on a mod called Fallout New Austin. I don't know if you've ever heard it because I haven't really done a good job in sharing that news. But I actually wanted to make sure that I actually understood the things that I didn't like about Fallout 4 in order to change those things. So I'm spending a lot of time kind of analyzing Fallout 4, and while doing that, I figured, hey, these might actually do well for videos. So that's kind of what I'm doing here with this first one. Now, this one is just a ranking video, but in the future, I actually plan on going through each of the perks and describing different ways that I would change them, and how they're going to look in Fallout New Austin.
I mean, he could have done this in this video, but I guess he just wanted to make an extra video for it.
If that's something that's interesting to you, or something that you are interested in, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and stick around.
Yeah, like, comment, and
Hopefully with the next few
subscribe.
videos
Go to his video and like, comment, and subscribe. And also watch the video again for watch time.
and videos in the future, you'll be able to see more Fallout New Austin stuff, and more stuff like this. Alright, end of interlude. Pickpocket.
Pickpocket. Oh, it's in perception. Wait a second. Is thievery split between agility and perception? That's so stupid. What? Like, I'm pretty sure that this is the sneaking one over here. Okay, let's just watch
Just
the
from
video.
its name, you know this one is going into the should have been a skill tier.
Yeah.
Just a sad replacement to the skill system. Next, Rifleman. Rifleman is an interesting situation. On paper, this one has the same feeling as the other, should have been a skill tier, except that it's specific to rifles. There was never a specific rifle skill, but maybe there should have.
This one is it the sniper one, or was there a different one for snipers, right? I mean, the way it's phrased, it sounds like this is the sniper one, right? Like, the way this should have been handled is easy. Just have different skills for different weapons. But the thing is, people probably don't like that if they have to invest too much into one weapon. But yeah, this should have definitely been a skill, but in the old Fallout, you only had three skills, but you had small firearms, which is essential. No, you have small firearms, which is essentially like two-handed firearms and one-handed firearms. Let's phrase it like that, right? So you have pistols, you have machine guns, etc., right? Those are like small firearms, and then you have heavy firearms, which are like the big things like rocket launcher and miniguns. And like, I am not happy about that. Also, you had energy, right? They should. I'm pretty sure they should have made it into more different types of guns, because, like, considering an assault rifle or a shotgun or a sniper as the same weapon type is just not great. like the weirdest part about Fallout 1 was when I realized that a shotgun is essentially the same as is essentially the same as a sniper. That is so stupid.
Should have been a skill tier.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness. Awareness was originally a single-tiered perk that let the player see the damage resistance of enemies in VATS. The Nuka World DLC added a second tier to that, just adds a 5% damage and hit chance increase while in VATS. The Nuka World DLC added a second tier to it that just adds a 5% damage and hit chance increase while in VATS. There isn't much to say about this one.
The thing about VATS is that this is something that I didn't understand until I played Fallout 1. Like, VATS don't allow you to go over 95% hit chance, and the reason why is because it's like a remnant of the era where where hit chance was calculated with a d20, and they essentially have the fumble mechanic, right? So if you roll a 1, no matter how good your hit chance is, you will always fumble, and that's why you at max can only have a 95% hit chance. I think what this one should do in the concept of Fallout 4, it should make it so that VATS now has a 100% hit chance. And in the context of outside of Fallout 4, what this one could do is, but I would put it at much lower, right? I would put it at like 10 perception then. What this should do is it should remove the ability for you to get a fumble, right? So that if you roll a 1, that you don't get a fumble anymore. I think that would be a fair one, like especially if you require 10 perception for this. It is like something that a player could aim for if they really, like if a player wants to go a full perception build, never being able to have a 100% hit chance is just something that bothers me as a player. I'm not sure if other players are the same. Like, I recently got into Dungeons and Dragons, and I realized that players really hate critical fumbles. Like, I don't hate critical fumbles. I actually like critical fumbles because they can be fun, you know what I mean? Right, like if you're what was his name? Ian uses burst shot and uses burst mode of his submachine gun and then misses the enemy and instead shoots you. That is because he got a critical failure. That is something that you can like laugh about. So I was really shocked by the fact that so many people hate critical fumbles. Or just fumbles in general. But yeah, but I do think it would be reasonable if you have, in the case of Fallout in a special system, having a perception perk that you can acquire with 10 perception that removes critical fumbles seems reasonable to me. Like the majority of players don't care about it because they're not going to invest into perception, but a player that actually invests into perception and will never be able to have 100% crit chance, that can be frustrating.
A good perk to have, but in the current system, I don't know if it's worth unlocking. C tier.
C tier. I haven't talked about the other ability. You can view a target-specific damage resistance in VATS. I don't think this should be a ability, especially not if you unlock this ability that early. I am torn about this. So in my game I have a spell that's called Analyzers. But I also have in the tabletop version, I also have the option that my players can just inspect enemies as a quick action. And if they inspect them, they would see what equipment they have. And then based on the equipment, they could deduce how much damage they deal. You can view a target-specific damage resistance in VATS. I do feel like this is a little bit obsolete. I would give the first level of it an F tier. And like obviously the second one, as I mentioned earlier, I would make it into I would just change it so that you always have like that you don't get critical fumbles anymore, and it would be a perception 10. So I would just give this one an F because I think it's obsolete. Knowing the thing is, obviously, if you play a game for the first time, this is meta knowledge that is useful. But if you play the game for the second time, you just don't care about this anymore because you already have the meta knowledge. And abilities that give the player meta knowledge are obsolete. They are only relevant the first time they play, and then the second time it's not relevant anymore. So you could just remove it. So like you put it in F.
If it's worth unlocking. C tier.
Locksmith.
Locksmith is an easy. Should have been a skill tier.
Should have been a skill. I think I will disagree here. This is only true for the lock and the hacking in this game. The reason why I think this should be a rank-based perk is because, like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you want to lock something, like if you want to level gate something, in Fallout 1, the way it works is you have a chest, and this chest has like a skill difficulty of 30, right? And so in order to open it with lockpicking, you need to have 30 in lockpicking, right? And having this, like with essentially having different chests with like a difference of 5 or something like this is just very redundant. I think having chests that like, so having like, okay, this is like an easy chest, so you can unlock it without a level, or like this is a door. I give you the option to be able to go to this door, but you need a very high level of it. And I think having like those 4 levels is just a better way on determining what the developer wants to be accessible to the player than using a system that goes from 0 to 100. Like, especially because what you have to consider in the old Fallout games with skills, you would not start locksmithing at 0, because I think you gain like 2 points in locksmithing for each point of perception or something like this. So you would already start like at level 15 in locksmithing, and I just think that it's very obsolete. I think here the perk system is better than the skill system, and it's the same with this hacking perk.
Nothing
I
else
think
to
the
really
same
say.
about that.
Demolition Expert. Hey, look at that. A should have been a skill tier perk that also
Explosions do 25% more damage, and you can craft explosive in chemistry. And creates granite throwing arc explosions. I don't think this should be a skill. I think this should be cut, because the thing is, if you're like, it is essentially a skill that both increases your rockets, your grenade launcher, and your grenades. But the thing is, your rockets are already scale with the heavy damage skill, and your grenades already scale with the throwing skill. So demolition should just be cut from the game. It's obsolete. It already exists in other forms.
also unlocks some recipes. Honestly, getting
It just means that, right? I mean, think about this. You have a 100% damage bonus. If you have a rocket launcher, right? Rocket launcher already deal a lot of damage. So you gain a 100% damage boost from having Demolition Expert at skill level 100. Then you gain another 100% damage boost from having heavy weapons at skill 100. So now you have like a rocket launcher that by default deals like 200 damage, and now it suddenly deals 800 damage. That's just bullshit. So Demolition Expert should be just be removed from the game.
tired of how many of these are just old skills. Night Person.
Night Person is
With Night Person,
interesting.
between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m., you gain +3 intelligence and perception, 30 extra.
I like the idea of Person, but the issue is having the player gain a buff depending on the time of the day forces the player into only playing at that time, and because of that, I would just remove this from the game because it feels like to the player it feels like something they should play around, but it actually just makes their game experience worse. So I would give this an F.
Extra health and night vision.
I do like the idea of it, but it's just really bad executed, and I have no idea how you could execute it in a better way. Like, okay, what I would do with Night Person, and there's also, I think, Morning Person, what I would do with it, I would change Night Person into a buff that you gain if you are inside a dungeon or inside a building, and then Morning Person a buff that you gain if you're on the overworld. But I would not base it on the time. That would just create a bad experience. Right? Because the way this would end up is that the player skips time until like it's night, and then once it's night, they go into the dungeon to gain the bonus from the buff. And so essentially, whenever they want to go somewhere, they would just wait. And considering that you can just skip time at will in Fallout, makes this a really obsolete perk.
While sneaking. Now, that's an interesting idea for a perk. There are some easy changes that I can think of that would make it...
Okay, night vision when sneaking, I would just make it a different... I mean, night vision while sneaking, I don't know. I would just give them night vision outside of sneaking, like as the last level of this perk.
Even better. But I really love the theming on this one. I'm going to say A tier.
I gave it an F and he gives it an A tier. That's crazy.
Refractor. Refractor just gives you more and more energy's resistance. That sucks so much since this idea could have been really, really cool. Maybe offering different interactions based on what kind of energy weapons are being used against you.
The issue with this skill is it's a skill that is technically a must-have. Okay, so the issue with this perk is it doesn't matter what you're doing, this perk is always useful for you. It might not be the best perk that you could get, but I feel like it is not a perk that defines your build or something like this, right? So this is essentially a perk that you can just always get, which is why I will put it at F tier. It's just a bad perk. It's really, you don't want your perks to be so neutral that everyone can play them, and it doesn't matter whether they're good or not. If a person doesn't have anything better to spend it on, then they will get this, and they can just always get this. Like there's no reason to not get this perk, except if there is a better perk that I could get. So this is why I'm ranking this as F.
Lasers reflecting off you, plasma splashing against you, electricity arcing to your enemies. Sadly, we just get a boring, linear damage increased. So boring. F tier.
Yeah, F tier. I mean, for different reasons, but...
Another perk that just pulls great ideas from my head. As of now, Sniper gives you an improved breath control while scoped, a knockdown chance from non-auto rifles, and a 25% accuracy bonus to headshots and VATS.
I kind of want to give this an F2, because it doesn't really do anything interesting. It just makes you better at one thing. I don't know. I'm just giving it an F. I don't hate sniper playstyles, but if I play a sniper playstyle, this is not really something that I would be looking forward to. It's something that I would get if I can't get anything better. But yeah, I like it. It's not really that. It's not interesting. It doesn't trigger my reward system in my brain.
This feels like a waste of a perk idea. It can be taken so much further than this. C tier.
Yeah, I'm fine with C tier.
Penetrator.
I'm just going to say it. He should probably not have made so many different tiers, like A, F, C, B, A. To me, everything that is a C is also an F. Everything that is B or A, like B or A is the same, and S is like, yeah, the best of the best, right? So, in my opinion, there's only F, A, and S. Or like F, B, and S. There are no other tiers. So if he says it's a C, it's an F to me, B and A is the same, and S is S. Penetrator. In VETS, you can target an enemy body part that are blocked by cover with a decrease in accuracy. In VETS, when you target an enemy body part that are blocked by cover... I mean, this is just... No, I don't know. I would cut this one. This is obsolete. This is just something that I would give the player by default. Like in the context of tabletop RPG, if they are attacking, if they're targeting an enemy that is behind a cover, they get disadvantage. Right, and this is essentially what this is. The thing about guns is, depending on how thick the cover is, you can still shoot through the cover. And it's actually crazy in real life, like the type of materials that you can shoot through with live ammunition. Like you might think, oh yeah, there's like a wooden cover, you can hunt behind it. No, the bullets just get straight through it. If it's a metal cover, the bullets will just get straight through it. Yeah, so there is just something like cover doesn't really exist in real life, you could say. I mean, obviously, if there's like a concrete wall, yeah, I mean, the bullet can still get through the concrete wall, but if the wall is thick enough, then it can't get through it, right? But like, if it's not an integral wall, then the bullet can probably get through it. It's just that the bullet has less force. Like if the bullet shoots through the wall and hits you, it hits you with less force than if it would hit you directly. But this just should be a basic thing in this game, right? So I will give this an F.
Penetrator is a very useful utility,
But like I would cut
allowing
it.
the player to target enemies that are blocked by cover. It's also just a pretty cool idea. I do think that this might be better served as part of a weapon though. Still, a good perk. B tier.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good perk. I agree with this, but like I'm ranking these things as from the perspective of a game developer, right? As a perspective from someone who makes their own game right now, right? And so that's why I would just give it an F, because this is, or like I wouldn't give it an F, but I would just cut it from the game, because I would just have this as like a basic principle of the game. So whenever I say that I would give something an F, that means I would cut it from the game, right? So if I say F, I would cut it from the game. Just to clarify.
Concentrated Fire. Concentrated Fire is a very useful perk for those working with a VATS build. For every consecutive attack on the same body part, you get a plus 20% accuracy and damage bonus. This is actually incredibly powerful if you are using a weapon that doesn't cost a whole lot of AP in VATS.
This is an interesting build for a character that uses an automatic weapon. Right, and that's like the thing. Perception is not just for sniper. Okay, this is probably a weird thing, but like in old Fallout, perception was for rifles in general. It was both for snipers, it was essentially for every weapon, except for... I mean, it was straight up for every weapon, right? But if you wanted to use, like, for example, a pistol, you would choose agility instead, because through agility you can get more pistol shots off, while for perception you kind of want the slower weapons that cost more AP, because that is just more useful for them, right? And the thing is, this is a perk that is just designed for automatic weapons, and in the context of Fallout 4, everything else here is designed for non-automatic rifles. So this one is like an odd one out, I would say. Like the issue is this is not relevant for snipers, right? Like if you use a sniper, you would probably one-shot your enemies anyway, so this is completely irrelevant. Would I cut it from the game? How would I implement this in my game? I probably wouldn't. I don't think this one matters. I just don't think it would matter. And I am curious about this, about people who are playing Fallout. Does this perk actually matter? Like, it is a perk, okay, it increases your accuracy, but I'm pretty sure at that point you already have like 95% accuracy with your sniper. And then 20% more damage. But like, the thing is, you have to consider, this does not count for the first attack. This only counts for the second attack and then every attack afterwards. I can't imagine that this one is a good one. Let's see what he has to say about it.
To me, this gives the idea of a gunslinger, shooting as quickly as possible but getting more accurate the longer they are shooting. It's a very cool perk that offers flavor despite being a simple boost. I think it could be fleshed out a bit, so
There should be an agility perk. I kind of have to disagree with that. The main issue is that it's a perception perk. It is a perk that is designed for a stat. Like, it is a perk that exists in a stat that is designed for, or like in a tree, right? So this whole tree is designed for snipers. And as snipers, you don't want to waste more than one shot per enemy. So having this as the best perk in a skill tree that is designed for snipers, but this perk obviously is not designed for snipers, I would give this one an F tier. I would not cut it from the game, but I would just say that this is an F tier because it's in the wrong tier. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it's actually good using it with non-automatic rifles. But because keep in mind, every other bonus that was like, okay, not every other bonus, but like most of the bonies in this perk that are specified to a weapon are for non-automatic rifles. And like this one doesn't say that it's not for non-automatic rifles, but if you use a non-automatic rifle, you are probably already killing them. Like you are at least dealing 50% or more of the enemy's HP, so the perk just doesn't do anything. And if you have 10 perception, you probably have max accuracy anyway. I really don't understand the point of this perk here. Maybe I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong.
Whew, oh man, Perception really did not have that many good perks, did it? I mean, neither did Strength, and neither does Fallout 4 in general, but you know, Perception just seems to have a lot of bad ones. Anyways,
wait, so he just said that Perception has a lot of bad ones. He has ranked Perception better than Strength.
Whew, oh man, Perception really did not have that many good perks, did it? I mean, neither did Strength, and neither does Fallout 4 in general, but you know, Perception just seems to have a lot of bad ones. Anyways,
no, you literally gave Perception on average a better rank than Strength. Like, based on what you ranked those Perception ones, I would say that Perception is your favorite stat. Okay, a second interlude. I mean, I'm already at an hour.
This is our second interlude, and I hope you've been enjoying the video so far. And if you have, you know, do that whole liking thing.
Sure. Okay, endurance.
Toughness. This is just a nothing perk that gives the player plus 50 damage resistance.
Yeah, similar to the energy perk.
Lead Belly. Lead Belly allows you to eat and drink anything radioactive. A very useful perk on survival playthroughs.
I know it's a bad perk.
Could be a good one with the same kind of tweaking I would do for all the others. As it is now, it can be seen as a bit overpowered if food was worthwhile in this game.
This is a role-playing perk. It would not exist. I mean, in the context of Fallout, it can exist, but it's a bad perk. You are investing 3 points into into something just so that you don't get radiation from it. If this was only one perk, it would be okay. Outside of playing survival or role playing, this is useless, so I give it an F. But I would not cut it from the game. I would give it an F because it's just a horrible stat.
But it's more of a chore than anything else. I'm thinking C tier.
F. Life Giver. Life Giver, similar to the other stats. That just give you something. It is something that everyone can have, and it's something that people would take if they don't have anything better to do. So just cut it from the game, it's obsolete.
Giver. Life Giver just adds 20 to your health and allows for your health to regenerate. It's such a garbage perk when you consider that you get around 5 HP per level. Each level of this perk is cumulative though, so you are getting 60 at level 3. I still don't think this is worthwhile since the player has an infinite amount of levels, therefore allowing for infinite amounts of health. Just think it's a worthless perk. F tier.
F tier.
Chem Resistant. At its highest level, Chem Resistant gives the player complete immunity from chem addiction. I'm a little torn on this one, since there are clear and obvious ways that I would make it better, but it also just...
I think this is actually a good perk, because it does not change the build that your character goes. But like, it doesn't affect the build, but it's also not something that every player would want. If you don't use chems, then you wouldn't want this one. But if you like using chems, then it's something that you would want to take without it actually defining your build. So I think it's a good one. I would definitely add a perk like this to my game. I would probably give it a B. It's not like, I mean, A and B for me is the same here. It's not really so impactful that I would consider it as an S, but I also wouldn't consider it as an F because it actually does something.
Just doesn't have a lot going on. I think C tier? Maybe F tier.
Really? Really? That is interesting. I would like to hear more about it, but he probably won't say anything. I mean, I've already explained why.
Aqua Boy and Aqua Girl. This is similar to the other endurance perks, but this one is for swimming in the water at its highest level.
I would also give this one... I would treat this one like the Lead Belly. It can exist in the context of Fallout, but I would give it an F.
You have no radiation damage, can breathe underwater, and are totally undetectable while in...
It does a lot for just one skill point. So maybe I would give it a B. But I don't know. It depends on the game. It actually depends on the game. If you have a lot of, like, the more water you have, the more powerful it becomes. It's like a little bit, it reminds me of the Argonians in Skyrim. Right, like Argonians have water breathing, which is a really cool ability, and it's like the main reason why why I would play an Argonian. And in Oblivion, it actually makes sense, because in Oblivion you have multiple passages or multiple dungeons where you actually have to deal with water. In Skyrim, it just doesn't exist anymore. I mean, there are some water parts, but they feel so rare that I never had the issue where I was drowning or anything like this, right? But in Oblivion, there were multiple areas where I thought, okay, water breathing is actually useful.
Water. This is a very powerful perk. Just because it's powerful doesn't mean it's good, though. It doesn't do a ton, and there aren't a lot of times that the player will actually be in water in Fallout 4. Let's go with B tier.
Really, I would... whatever.
Rad Resistant.
Okay, Rad Resistance, similar to the other damage perks, obsolete. I would not put it in because it's something that the player can take always. It's not something that a player wants to take, but if they don't have anything better to take, they will always take it. So just obsolete, remove it from the game.
Another boring linear buff perk. Boring, F tier. Adamantian Skeleton. Man, with these perks I should have really added another category. These would be so easy to make better by simply tying the perk to increase as your endurance does, rather than having multiple levels of this perk. Adamantium gets...
Oh, I was thinking about something similar. So the way it works in my game is you have like debuff resistance, right? And you have 4 different debuffs, and each debuff resistance is tied to a specific stat, right? And like the way this is supposed to work is like in a D20 system. So essentially, essentially each point in a stat is tied to 5% of the effectiveness, right? And so yeah, essentially the way he describes this is essentially how I have done it in my game. So yeah, this is completely obsolete. You can remove this from the game. F tier. And he gives this in C tier. Yeah, I give it an F tier because you can just do it through stats. Right, just make it so that for each endurance you have 10% reduced limb damage.
Cannibal. With the Cannibal perk at max level, you can eat humans, super mutants, and ghouls. An absolute classic perk that is even more interesting on hardcore. Why not give it an S tier?
I think I agree with that.
Ghoulish. With Ghoulish, you actually gain some health as you gain radiation, and at its max level, your radiation will go away over time, while also healing you. Lots of flavor with this one, and it's a fun idea that fleshes out the world a bit.
I would give this one also an S tier. But I do see the issue here is that it is... But unlike the other stats, unlike, for example, the damage resistance, you would only take the damage resistance if you have nothing better to do. This is a little bit tricky because it is much better than just damage resistance. And I feel like this is something that every player would choose. I do like the idea of it, but it should be, like, there should be a downside to it so that not every player want to do it. And if you max this one out, there's no downside to it, right? Because the downside to it is that you would, like, you're getting healed, right? Like, you're getting healed from radiation, but radiation also decreases your max health, right? So this is like an upside and a downside, which I like. But then once you max it out, you no longer have the downside. I mean, you still have the downside, but you're also fixing the downside a little bit. If you would keep the downside of radiation, then I would definitely give this like an S tier, in a sense of, yeah, I think it is a genuinely good designed perk, a well-designed perk.
I do wish the game kind of ghoulified you as your rads go up, or you start to glow or something, but even without that, this is still an A tier perk.
Solar powered. That's the... Solar powered is the opposite of night one, right? But it actually does something else instead. I like this one though. It slowly heals your radiation damage. It's actually crazy. And then sunlight slowly regenerates your lost health. The first part of it, I would just remove that from the game. Just remove that. I would rewrite this. Okay, no, I actually treat it as the opposite of Night Stalker or whatever it was. I would make it so that this effect always triggers if you're on the overworld, and then the other effect always triggers if you are in a dungeon.
Solar powered is basically the opposite to the night person perk, gaining +2 in strength and endurance during the daytime hours. Sunlight also heals radiation and heals over time. Fun idea. I think the name could have been more fun, like Vampire and Daywalker, for the 2 perks, but that's a nitpick.
I mean, the name of this perk should have been Photosynthesis, obviously.
I don't think it's as fun as Night Person, so B tier.
Oh my god, there's still so much left.
Should I stop doing these interludes?
Yeah.
I kinda want...
I really want to know what he says, but I'm already at 1 hour and 20 minutes. and I don't want this video to be longer than 2 hours. Cap collector, buying and selling prices at vendors are better. This is obsolete. It's just it's just completely irrelevant. Every perk that just increases the pricing is irrelevant because money is never really that relevant. You only need money at the beginning of the game, and after that you usually have more money that you can spend. So cut it.
With how god-awfully the economy in Fallout 4 is tuned, every perk that modifies caps is basically pointless. This one at least allows you to sell more to vendors, but caps stop being an issue in most playthroughs very, very early. There are plenty of other perks worth your time before this one. Honestly, could have done so much better with this perk.
So the thing is, I agree with F tier, but I think I would still add this to the game because there's always a player who wants to roleplay as a merchant, or like who want to min-max their money gain, even though it's pointless. But like, perks are not there because they have a point. Perks are there because they are fun to the player, and I think there are some players who would have fun with that.
F tier.
But the thing is, this should be a skill. This bothers me now that he doesn't have given it should be a skill, because this is essentially a skill. There's a bartering skill in old Fallout, right? This was a skill before.
Lady Killer and Black Widow.
I like this one. I definitely give this one an S tier. I really like the idea of having gender as a gameplay mechanic. Unfortunately, in the modern zeitgeist, where gender is where gender is fluid, or where is a third gender, these perks don't really work anymore. But I really like the idea of it.
Linear increase to damage and persuasion chance to the opposite sex, but with a bit of flavor. With how this is currently implemented, I do think it's a bit weird and not really worth the points.
Interesting.
The dialogue system being extremely limited and damage scaling being very strange, I could put this no higher than F tier.
Okay, that's interesting. I do agree with him. I think, like, I don't know much about this perk in Fallout, but I know in the Skyrim there is like something similar, and the way the game is designed is, it is just not that good for men, because most bosses in this game are men, so it's just better for females.
Lone Wanderer. I love the idea of rewarding the player for being a loner, and I love that the Lone Wanderer perk still works even if you have a dog with you. The idea of being a lone wanderer in the wasteland is a classic.
The issue with this perk is it should not exist. The reason why it should not exist is because originally the game was all about companions. And now the game kind of strives away from the companion system. The worst part about the Lone Wanderer perk is that it is like it has the upside is if you're alone, then you have increased stats, right? But the thing is, the downside of being alone is that you are alone, right? The issue is, a assassin type build, a sneak type build always wants to be alone. So like, to them, having a companion is a downside. And what this perk does, it removes a downside and adds an upside. So this is an always take for an assassin build, which is why I would cut this from the game. It's just too rewarding for certain playstyles without having a downside. So every player would just take this skill. I mean, I don't think I need to argue that this is just like an instant take for many players out there.
At max level, this will give you the buffs of taking 30% less damage, 100% more carry weight, dealing 25% more damage.
This one is even much. This one is much better than the pack mule or whatever it was called. That's also crazy.
And gaining
It's
25
just too good.
more action points. So it is a big buff. It is a bit boring though, right?
Yeah,
It
it's
doesn't offer the
boring.
player anything new to actually roleplay as a loner. Just makes you harder to kill when you are alone, to compensate for not having a companion with you. C tier.
I would give it an F tier.
Attack Dog. A perfect complement to Lone Wanderer, Attack Dog will make your dog's ability to hold targets more useful, making VATS shots easier, causing crippling, bleeding, and even reducing the damage the player receives by 10%. Now, do I think this is actually doing a whole lot? Not really.
I would just cut this one from the game.
Pretty cool, but I just don't think it changes the game very much.
This is something. So, like, I was trying to do a class system for my RPG system, and I'm really struggling hard with this. But this is something that I would give to my hunter. My hunter class, right? And my hunter class has like 3 different skill trees, and then one of the skill trees is like hunting dog related, right? So I would add this as a skill to the hunting dog from my hunter, but I would not add this as a perk. It's just obsolete. It does too much, and it has no downside.
C tier.
Okay, I have to mention perks don't need to have a downside. Right, like perks don't. I think people probably think that, in my opinion, every perk needs to have a downside. But the issue is, in order to get this perk, you only need a charisma of 4. Right, and it essentially does a lot without you needing to do anything. So it is just something that every player can take. And this is what a perk makes bad. Like, a player, if they choose a perk, they have to make a strategic decision. And that's just not a strategic decision. It's just a, take this, and this gives you a lot, compared to the other one, which don't give you a lot, which doesn't give you as much, right? And that's why I think it's a perk that should be cut from the game. Not because it doesn't have a downside, rather because it does too much for everyone, right? If this is something, okay, let's say you actually really need a dog to do this, right? And like, let's talk about this in D&D. Let's say this you are a hunter. This perk only affects you if you have a dog, and not every character can have a dog, right? Then it's valid, but in the context of Fallout 4. You always have a dog. There's no downside to having the dog. So there is just no reason for you not to take this perk. Right? And that's essentially what I want to say. I hope people understand what I'm trying to say. Animal Friend. Remove this from the game. Okay, so I forgot to talk about Animal Friend, but it's basically the same thing as Race and Whisperer. A tier. Nah, I give this an F tier. It can be removed from the game, because it doesn't do anything. Yeah, it just doesn't do anything. Yeah, come. A tier, local leader.
I hate this perk. Getting off supply lines and settlement shops. Boring. No substance.
Cut.
Still required to unlock for most players. Cut tier.
Yes.
Party boy, party girl. Party boy / girl makes you.
I mean, it's the same as the Chem Addict one. I would just like I would give it an S tier. He has given the Chem one an F tier, but I would give it an S tier.
Immune from becoming addicted to alcohol. Doubles its effects and will increase your luck by 3 while under the influence. I'm sure there is a build potential and even some roleplay potential, but I don't think Fallout 4 can really accommodate it fully. C tier.
It's interesting how he gives this one a C tier, but gives the Chem one an F tier. That is crazy.
Inspirational. Inspirational makes your companions a bit stronger and a bit tougher and a bit harder to kill. F tier.
I agree.
Wasteland Whisperer. Wasteland Whisperer does a lot at max level.
I mean, okay, so you already said this.
I do think this is a good perk. Maybe even a great perk.
Good perk.
I also think this could have been a base player ability and has too high of requirements. Still, it changes what the player can do by quite a lot. For now, let's put it in A tier. Intimidation.
I mean,
This is a
you have like in certain games, you have like the animal friend or like a skill that allows you to talk with animals. And the thing is, those skills are, I don't know, like for roleplay terms, like I would not cut this from the game, I think. I also would not cut the other one from the game. Because there's always a player who wants this for roleplay. But I don't think they do that much on their own. I don't like those perks. Charisma.
exactly the same as Wasteland Whisper.
Yeah, okay,
Instead of
the same.
animals, it works on humans. Intimidation lets you pacify humans, command them to attack, and even give them specific command. This can be a very powerful perk. Can't help but wish it was expanded a bit more, but it is what it is. I do think it's a good perk though. A tier.
I just think these perks are boring. That's it. That's why I would rank them lower. Okay, can you...
Alright, for this interlude, I want to talk a bit about what exactly I would do to...
I'm sorry that I'm skipping these
Vans.
interludes, but...
Vans adds a path in VATS for the player to follow to their quest target.
Useless.
This can be helpful for players that struggle in buildings to find their way through a
Cut
level.
it. F.
It does rely on the janky pathfinding of the creation engine though, so it's prone to breaking. Still, I think it's a good perk. A tier.
No, it's not
Medic.
a good perk. It's not a good perk because it doesn't do anything. Just F. I mean, it doesn't do anything from the perspective of the player, right? Because you're investing a perk just to have a path to the... It is like the spell. What is it called? I forgot what the spell in Skyrim is, right? But it's a spell that nobody uses because it's useless. I don't know. I can't argue. I can't tell you why it's useless because it's so obviously useless. And he gives it an A. I'm shocked by this.
Medic is another linear increase perk, and it's basically just a replacement for medicine skill.
Yeah, this is something that I would give a medic as a class, but like as a class I would give this, but not as a perk. It is something that everyone can use. It's not good, but if they have nothing else to take, they can always take this, so it's a lame perk. Remove it
At
from the
its max
game.
power, this perk is crazy, by the way. Stimpaks and Radaway heal 100% of your health and radiation, respectively. Crazy. Anyways, should have been a skill tier.
That's actually a good point, because in the old Fallout games it was a skill. I completely forgot about that.
Gun Nut. Gun Nut just allows you access to more gun mods. Cut tier.
Yep.
Hacker. Replaces the hacking.
Okay, here I'm going to say, like, it's the same with the lockpicking. I think it's a good perk. Or, like, it's a well-designed perk. Because it, like, if I'm creating a D&D campaign, this would, or like a tabletop RPG campaign, this perk allows me to gate content behind certain levels. If, for example, in my tutorial dungeon, or not tutorial dungeon, but in my first dungeon, I have an area which is gated behind essentially I want my players to go back to that dungeon later on, and that's how with that I can just gate this area for a higher level. So I think it's a really good perk. It is a perk that, like, this is essentially how this should work. And now he's probably going to say that this was a skill. Yeah, it was. But the issue with it as a skill is you just have 100 markers. With this perk, as a perk, you have 5 different markers. Or 4 different markers. And... no, you actually only have 3 different markers. So you have 4 markers, right? Because easy can be done. I mean, technically you have 4. In this case, you only have 3, but it should actually be 4, right? And so you have 4 markers that you can use to indicate, or like that you can use to gate certain content behind a level if you don't want your player to have access to this too early. So I think it's a good perk.
Skill and allows access to
Yeah, and as a skill, instead of being a perk, if it's a skill, then you have 100 markers, which are, like, having so many markers is completely irrelevant. In my game, it's a skill, but that's because I only have because in my case the skill works a little bit different. It only goes from 1 to 20, not from 1 to 100. And it also has ranks, and it's a little bit complicated. But essentially I have 6 markers, and then the level, because 6 different ranks, and then the levels themselves do something different. They are essentially giving you, like, they increase your chance, but they are not gating what you can do and what not.
Should have been a skill tier. Scrapper. Scrapper lets you get more from scrapping items.
This is a stupid gatekeeping mechanic. This, like, I think similar to the crafting mechanic, this should be cut. Because it just gatekeeps you for no fucking reason. And I hate that this system also exists in Cyberpunk 77. Because I actually like crafting in video games, but I hate it if it's locked behind perks. So I have to get a certain stat, I have to increase a certain attribute, then I have to invest skill points into the perk just so that I can craft. And now I have already invested 5 levels without increasing my damage, which means I'm under-leveled now. And I hate that. I mean, obviously I hate it. I hate being under-leveled.
A bit of flavor, but a little underpowered. It does also give you the ability to highlight favorited components. Not a ton going on here though. C tier.
No, it should just be it should be cut from the game, and it should just be part of the gameplay. There's no reason for it to be an extra skill.
Science. Science simply gives you access to higher tech mods. Cut tier.
Yes. It is crazy that he did not cut this, but he cut essentially all other ones.
Chemist. A linear boost to how long chems last. Chemist at its max level makes chems last 200.
I think this is an okayish perk similar to Chemist and to the Chem Addiction and Alcohol. It is something that player can take if they like to use this item, but it's not something that every player would take by default, because not every player uses chems. Or, like, let's say it's like potions, right? So this is just for potions, not necessarily for chems. Not every player uses potions. So I think this is actually a well-designed perk.
Longer. A bit of a nothing perk. F tier.
A bit of another perk. Now, whether it's good or not, that's something different, but I think it's a well-designed perk. This is a perk that can exist in a video game. Whether it's good or nothing, that's obviously another
Robotics
question.
Expert. Robotics Expert is basically Intimidate, but for robots. One of the better perks of the game. At its max level, the player can hack robots, turn them.
I would cut it from the game. It should be a skill, or it should just be available from everyone, and instead it should be level gated, so that you can't hack robots which are too high level, right? But I think this should not be the ability to hack robots should not be gated behind the perk.
Them on and off, initiate a self-destruct, incite them to attack, and give specific commands. A very cool perk and very useful. S tier.
Okay, to be fair, the way this is phrased, I think I would also give it an S tier, because, like, it doesn't gate. Okay, I've misunderstood this, but it doesn't gate what robots you can hack. It's just default for every robot, and instead it gates what you can do with the robot, which I think is actually a well designed. So I would also give this one. Okay, to be fair, I've completely misunderstood this perk. I actually like this one. I do like this one.
Nuclear Physicist. Nuclear Physicist gives a buff to both radiation weapons and to fusion core power. The fusion core part makes sense, but the boost to radiation weapons are close to useless, as most creatures will be immune to the effects.
The thing about this, I also like the fusion core part. This is like a skill that I always get because I like using power armor. But this is like the first one that you would go for if you play power armor, at least in my opinion. Radiation damage, that should be like out of question. Like they just cut radiation from it and radiation damage from it, and it would be fine. I don't like the last one. I really hate this perk. I really hate the last level of this perk because it happens so often that I accidentally eject my fusion core. I don't remember what I think you just have to hold a specific button, and this happens just too often by accident with me. But the thing is, you have to take it because it also increases the core duration. So I do have mixed feelings about the last one.
This perk also lets you use fusion cores as grenades, but it's not very cost effective.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you remove the fusion core part and the radiation part, I think this would be a really good designed perk, and I would give it an S tier.
Nerd Rage. If health drops below 20%, you gain 40 damage resistance and do 40% more damage. And kills heal a bit of health.
The issue with this perk is obviously it's a very good perk. It's something everyone can use. I would probably make it part of a class instead to be available for everyone. I also think an actual bad part about this is that it's an intelligence perk. Now, obviously, I understand why it's an intelligence perk. It's a reference to Hulk. But I think if this perk would be better outside of the intelligence attribute.
Reminds me of a well-known angry green nerd. I do like the spice of this perk though, and it's a bit of a classic. Doesn't really change how much you actually play by any meaningful way, so C tier.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's too good to not take it. Does he make another interlude?
Interlude.
Action boy, okay. Gunslinger.
Gunslinger. Gunslinger is basically the small arms skill of Fallout 3 and part of the guns skill of Fallout New Vegas. Should have been a skill tier.
Do I agree with that fully? I guess so. Yeah,
Fallout
just
3 and Commander. Commander is another part of the gun skill, but for automatic rifles. Should have been a skill tier.
Yeah, I agree.
Sneak.
I agree.
Does what the sneak skill of Fallout New Vegas did. Should have been a skill.
I agree.
Mr. Sandman. Mr. Sandman allows you to instantly kill any sleeping person, along with boosting sneak attack damage. I like the ability to instantly kill any sleeping person.
The thing is, this should be a perk that is part of the sneak skill, right? In my game, you have the sneak skill, right? So you upgrade your sneak skill between 1 and 20, right? So like eventually you max out at 20, and then you gain every 4 levels, you can upgrade the rank of it, and if you upgrade the rank, you gain additional perks, right? And this would just be a perk of my sneak skill, right? It's just that easy, so this should be part of the sneak skill.
That's all this perk really does. It honestly doesn't know. I honestly don't know what else it could be made to do to make it better though. Maybe it would be better to simply remove this perk and make it a base ability.
Yeah.
F tier.
Remove this perk, make it part of the sneak one.
Action girl. Action person is just another linear increase perk that will increase your action regeneration rate by 75%. So boring, and honestly, just what ability should it be anyways?
Yeah.
F tier. Moving target. Moving target. While sprinting, you get plus 50 damage resistance, plus 50 energy resistance with moving target, and sprinting costs 50% less. The flavor of this is pretty fun, but there is no way this perk is going to be meaningfully changing how you play the game. C tier.
I don't care about this one, actually. I really... It is essentially just... It is technically similar to the ones that just gives you straight damage resistance, but it's essentially straight up worse than that. But it's also something everyone can take.
Play the game. C tier. Ninja. Ninja is just yet another linear increase perk.
Yeah, should be part of the sneak skill.
For both melee and I am honestly so sick of perks like this. These are only needed in the game because the game has shitty health and damage balancing. F tier.
Should have been part of the sneak
Quick hands. With max level of quick hands, you will be able to reload all weapons quicker, reload for free in VATS, and gain an additional 10 action points.
The way this should have been phrased is that it only works for guns. No, the way this should have been rephrased is that it's only worked for revolver or something like this.
This requires level 40.
Because the issue here, obviously, is it is so good, everyone can take it. There's no downside. I mean, the only downside to it is that you need 8 agility, but it's so good that everyone could take it, so it's annoying, it's boring.
10 action points? What the fuck? Don't get this. That's such a waste. With 8 agility, you will have 140 action points. Just get another perk in agility instead. Also, C tier. That's only because it has a decent flavor. Blitz. This perk is absolutely broken. Blitz is meant to act as a distance-cutting perk. Think about how monks play in D&D. It is a cool idea, but this perk basically lets you teleport through windows and doors and walls.
Yeah, this one is crazy.
This will absolutely change how the player will play, and it's actually really fun to play with. Honestly, name it something like Blink and give it a little flashy animation, and
that's too OP, I would cut from the game.
I do think that rather than having a requirement of 9 agility, just
Okay, sorry about that.
You can blink with every point in agility, making it more meaningful.
I mean, I would remove this as a perk and just add it as an ability that is restricted to certain classes, because this is way too OP.
There is a second effect from Blitz that also increases the amount of damage you do the further the distance is. Also, a pretty cool idea. I don't think any Fallout 4 perk is perfect, but this one is definitely one of the best. S tier. Gun Fu. Gun Fu is the better example of being a quick draw sharpshooter. What it does is increase damage by 25% to your second target, by 50% for your third, and an instant critical for your fourth and beyond. This would be...
I actually like this one because it incentivizes you to do something specific, to do the extra damage, but it's not necessarily something that every player would do, which is why I like it.
Be great for a build that optimizes action points, doing quick pans from enemy to enemy. Pretty fun, and it'll change how you play by quite a lot. A tier.
I've said earlier that I don't like it if perks change, like if perks changes the way you play. Or like what I said is I don't like it if perks enable you to play in a way that you wouldn't otherwise be able to, right? But that's not what this is doing, right? This is something that you could do already without having this perk, but having this perk gives you a better reason to do so, right? So that's why I like it. Okay.
We are getting close to the Fortune Finder. Just increases the amount of caps that the player will find.
Useless.
Fortune Finder is an F tier perk.
This is like I have this as part of a stat. I have a loot value, which is like part of it's part of perception and part of luck. So the higher your luck and the higher your perception, the higher loot value the items will have. Or the chests will have. So this should just be part of the stat.
Scrounger. Similar to Fortune Finder giving the player more caps, Scrounger gives the player more ammunition. Not a very interesting perk at all. F tier.
I mean, it's not really an interesting perk, but it's definitely better than the other one, because more ammunition, like you actually require ammunition, while caps are not that relevant. And you can use caps to buy ammunition, but if you're out of ammunition while in a dungeon and you can have a higher chance to find ammunition, that's pretty useful. Bloody Mess. This is an interesting perk. This is a perk that existed since the first Fallout 1, but in Fallout 1 it was a personality perk, so you would choose it at the start. It's an interesting one. It is like kind of supposed to be a joke one, but it's also not really that bad.
Class of perk that may cause enemies to burst into a bunch of chunks. You also get a plus 15% damage boost, as well as possibly making nearby enemies also explode. It's a fun perk to get, but it's not something you could rely on. If the chance of explosion was tied to the player's luck, it would be a much better perk.
The issue is, like, as always, it is something that every player can get. Whether it's the best one or not the best one they can get is questionable. But yeah, I do not like that it's just something that everyone can take. It's a I would remove it from the game.
B tier.
Unless, of course, so the way he mentioned it is like if it would be nice if it scales with your luck. In my game, your luck is not a stat that you increase. Your luck is determined by the character creation. So essentially, if you create a character, you roll a d10, and then the number that you get is the luck that you have. A mechanic like this would make this much more interesting, because now... another thing is luck in my game isn't just positive, it's both positive and negative. It's like essentially whatever I decided to do as a DM with some rules attached to it. But I do, like, it would be interesting, like, this is just how luck should be. Like, luck should not determine whether an outcome is positive or negative. What it should determine is the power of the outcome, right? So, for example, Bloody Mess, what Bloody Mess should do is, it should, like, if it creates an explosion, this explosion should also be able to hit allies, and the size of the explosion should be determined by your luck skill. I think that would make it very funny.
Mysterious Stranger. Another classic, Mysterious Stranger, gives you a chance to be helped by the Mysterious Stranger in VATS. The Mysterious Stranger can one-shot, I think, anything. Each level of this perk doesn't increase the chance the Mysterious Stranger will
This is a perk outside of Fallout 4, I would remove it, but because it's Fallout 4 it can stay. Or like, because it's Fallout it can stay.
visit, but will give a higher and higher chance that
Let's
Mysterious
just
Stranger
skip
kill will
this.
fill the player's critical meter.
This one is not relevant to me.
This perk increase the chance of a visit based on how much luck you have, but it's still a pretty good perk. We'll say B tier. Idiot Savant. So,
I hate this skill. Oh, I hate this perk. This perk sucks so much. F. Cut it from the game. It's so stupid. The reason to have a high intelligence is because each point of intelligence increases your experience points gained. And this one is completely opposite. But this one makes it so that the less intelligence you have, the more experience points you get. It is just, I hate this one. It is so a stupid one. I'm just going to cut it.
Idiot Savant is probably the closest to how I would design a perk. What it does is add a chance to give 5 times experience for any actions and a chance to gain 3 times experience on kills for a time period. The chance actually increases based on how low your intelligence is.
Whatever, I'm going to cut it. I think it's a stupid one.
Fun idea, great perk. I do wish there was more of a reason to play a low intelligence character though. A tier.
F tier.
Better criticals. Better criticals.
I mean, it's not a bad stat, but it's not a bad perk, but I just think it's stupid. It should not exist. Better criticals. I mean, this is just something that should be... Okay, I was thinking, should I... Like, this is something that should be part of the stat, right? So, for example, each point in luck increases your critical damage by 10%, right? And I was thinking whether I should do that or not. Like, right now, I have a stat that is called Cunning, and Cunning increases your crit damage. But the thing is, I am questioning whether I should remove that or not. And, like, I am really fond about this. But yeah, this should be part of a stat.
Just increase your critical damage linearly up to 2.5 times. F tier.
F tier, okay.
Critical Banker. Critical Banker lets you save up to 4 critical hits to later be used in VATS. Side note, I think not having random criticals based on your luck score is such a loss. As for this perk, it's fine. C tier.
I think this is not a bad perk, especially not in the context of tabletop RPG. I do have something similar. I have endurance charges and focus charges. They do something different. But what they essentially do is they allow you to reroll a challenge. And the reason why I'm saying this is similar to this is because you can save up your charges. The charges are tied to stats. Right, so for example, endurance charges, you gain like endurance charges based on how much endurance you have. In my game, the maximum stat is 20, not 10. So you gain like 1 endurance charge per 5 stats. So you would have overall 4 endurance charges if you have 20 endurance. The thing is, critical hits is a bit different. I think this would be too OP for a tabletop RPG. But the idea of it is okay. It's not. It has to be made a little bit different.
Sprint. With Grim Reaper Sprint, you can get a 35% chance to fill your critical meter. I really like this one, especially for a build that centers around VATS usage. Save up 4 criticals and enter a room, and you'll most likely be able to clear a room entirely at VATS if you spend your time to build up your criticals. Fun perk? I'd make the same changes as I always say. High C tier, low B tier. We will put it in B tier. 4-leaf clover. With 4-leaf clover, you get an excellent chance to fill your critical meter. Wait, is this just a better Grim Reaper Sprint? How much is an excellent chance? More than 35%? Less? Why doesn't this one just give you a number value?
I feel like you can cut Grim Reaper and this one from the game. They
This
don't
one is a
really
better
do anything.
perk, as in it's stronger, but I actually think it's a lamer perk. It also makes Grim Reaper Sprint less valuable. With the god-awful health rebalancing of this game, it's probably more worth it to get this one. Still though, F tier. Ricochet. Ricochet adds a chance that an enemy shot will ricochet back and kill them, with a chance that will fill your
I feel like most of the luck perks are just bullshit.
critical meter. It's weird that this requires level 10 luck. I don't think this one is at all worth it, or well designed. Just a bit boring. F tier.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Alright, that is my ranking for all the perks in Fallout 4 based on our criteria of what actually makes a good perk. This isn't about how powerful you can make your character in Fallout 4. This is more about talking about the perks and if they're actually worthwhile perks on a game design level.
I'm not sure if he actually valued them on a game design level. Not because I'm disagreeing with him a lot, rather because I think he looks more of it in context of Fallout 4 than in the context, or like in the context of Fallout as a game than on actual game design. Like, because I don't know, like some of this, they're clearly bullshit, and he gave. Okay, whatever. I think this video is long enough. Let's see if he has anything relevant to say in the last
Hopefully
minute.
that kind of comes across, and in the future, I do want to talk about how I would change these perks and how I'd make them better. Thinking about things that would better the design rather than actually making them more powerful, though. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you have, remember to like, comment, subscribe, do all that weird.
Okay, alright. So I really liked this video, and I really liked like some of the issues that he was talking about. But like some of his choices are weird, like some abilities who were clearly should have like which one was this? There was one. It was the scavenge. What was the perk called? Like the perk that increases your that allows you to dismantle weapons. Like this should have been just similar to the crafting skills, had been a cut one, but he actually gave it a C there, which was a little bit weird. But yeah. I wanna. Okay, I'm at 2 hours. I will end this video here.